This is the Daily Show. I'm your today's host, Starklock, and today I'll be talking about the Pride and Prejudice, Chapter 2. Mr. Bennet was among the earliest of those who waited on Mr. Bingley. He had always intended to visit him, though to the last always assuring his wife that he should not go. Until that evening after the visit was paid, she had no knowledge of it. It was then disclosed in the following manner. Observing his second daughter employed in trimming a hat, he suddenly addressed her with it. "I hope Mr. Bingley will like it, Lizzie. We are not in a way to know what Mr. Bingley likes," said her mother resentfully. "Since we are not to visit, but you forget, mamma," said Elizabeth, "that we shall meet him at the assemblies, and that Mr. Sloane has promised to introduce him. I do not believe Mr. Sloane will do any such a thing. She has two nieces of her own. She is quite selfish, hypocritical woman, and I have no opinion of her." "No more have I," said Mr. Bennet, "and I am glad to find that you don't depend on her serving you." Mr. Bennet designed not to make any reply, but unable to contain her, began scolding one of her daughters. "Don't keep coughing so, Kitty. For heaven's sake, have a little compassion of your nerves. You'll tear them to pieces. Kitty have no discretion in her coughs," said her father. "She times them ill." "I don't cough for my own amusement," replied Kitty fretfully. "What is your next ball to be, Lizzie?" "Tomorrow fortnight." "Eh, so it is," cried her mother, "and Mr. Sloane doesn't come back till the day before. So it will be impossible for her to introduce him, for she will not know him herself. Then, my dear, you may have the advantage of your friend and introduce Mr. Bingley to her." "Impossible, Mr. Bennet, impossible. When I am not acquainted with him myself. How can you be so teasing? I honor your circumspection. A fortnight's acquaintance is certainly very little. One cannot know what a man really is by the end of the fortnight. But if we don't venture, somebody else will, and after all, Mr. Sloane and her nieces must stand their chance, and therefore, as she will think it an act of a kindness. If you decline the office, I will take it on myself." The girls stared at their father. Mr. Bennet said only, "Nonsense, nonsense!" "What can be the meaning of the emphatic exclamation?" cried he. "Do you consider the form of introduction, and the stress that is laid on them, as nonsense? I can't quite agree with you there. What said you, Mary? For you are a young lady of deep reflection, I know, and I read great books and make extracts." Mary wished to say something very sensible, but knew not how. While Mary is suggesting her ideas, he continued, let us return to Mr. Bingley. I am sick of it, Mr. Bingley, cried his wife. I am sorry to hear that. But why did not you tell me so before? If I had known as much this morning, I certainly would not have called on him. It's very unlucky, but as I have actually paid the visit, we cannot escape the acquaintance now. The astonishment of the ladies was just what he wished. That of Mr. Butnet perhaps surpassing the rest, though when the first tumult of joy was over, she began to declare that it was what he had expected all the while. How good it was in you, my dear Mr. Butnet. But I knew I should persuade you at last. I was sure you loved your girls too much to neglect such an acquaintance. Well, how pleased I am, and it is such a great joke, too, that you should have gone it this morning, and never said a word about it till now. Now, Kitty, you have called as much as you choose, said Mr. Butnet, and as he spoke, he left the room, fatigued with the rapture of his wife. What an excellent father you are, girls, said she. When the door was shut, I do not know how you will ever make this amends for his kindness, or me either, for that matter. At our time of life, it is not so pleasant, I can tell you, to be making new acquaintances every day, but for your sakes, we should do anything. Lydia, my love, though you are the youngest, I dare say Mr. Bingley will dance with you at the next ball. Oh, said Lydia shoutily, I am not afraid, for though I am the youngest, I'm the tallest. The rest of the evening was spent in conjecturing how soon he would return Mr. Bonnet's visit, and determining when they should ask him to dinner. So that's all for today's show. Thanks for your listening and participating. As always, comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. Link down below. And I will see you in my next couple shows. Have a nice day.